Hi, welcome back. I am your host, Mr. Noir, and this is my channel, Mr. Noir. I don't know why I keep saying it that way, it's just funny to me. So today's episode is about the superficial nature of society today and how it's affecting everybody in different ways, but from an older perspective, I think that it's affecting me in a different way because I'm seeing the change more acutely than I ever have before. And it's starting to bother me. And even though I know I'm taking part in this evolution or de-evolution of personal style or personal habits, I still recognize it as a problem. And so I was talking to my friend Julio the other day, and he was telling me that he was concerned about how hard it is lately to get more design work. He's a graphic designer. And I asked him, I was like, hey, do you have any idea of what you're going to pivot to in terms of our career choices? And he said, no, I want to stay a designer my whole life. I love design. I love creating things. I love interacting with people and giving them something beautiful that they can showcase, whether it's on their site or if it's something printed or whatever it is. He enjoys the design process. And I told him, right now things are going a little bit harsh for us. And it's not easy to find work. And the work we are finding is not exactly long-term. It feels very contract-based. Now, to be fair, we are contractors, but we're looking for long-term engagements. And I know I'm coming around to the point in a second, but we have taken so many hard turns in our careers where it seems like things should be getting better for us, especially given the amount of experience we've got, but it's not. And I told him the reason because of this downturn in work is because of AI and technology and the advances that Microsoft and Apple are coming up with to make it easier for laymen to design presentations or graphics or whatever it is they want to design. And people are now accepting good enough as the default preference. And that's not cool. I don't work that way. I produce my graphics and my presentations at the very highest level because that's what my clients expect. And that's exactly what I try to give them. But I was looking at Microsoft and how they've recently come out with Copilot for different design needs, whether it's in PowerPoint or Word. You're getting an AI assistant built in, kind of like Clippy used to be. Anyway, I told him that I was somewhat intimidated by the power of PowerPoint right now, because even a layman can put in a prompt and get a reasonably good facsimile of exactly what they're looking for with only minor changes required. And that is obviously cutting designers completely out of the loop. And so I told him, I've realized that I need to pivot because I understand that I can't compete with artificial intelligence. I mean, who among us can? And he was just adamant. He was like, I don't know what I could do. I don't know where to turn. And I told him, our society right now is based on superficial conveniences. And we're more dramatic, we're more sensitive, we're more delicate than we ever used to be. Things have come so easily for us lately that it's hard for younger generations to really understand that they need more grit. And Julio is a few years younger than me. He's in his 40s now, but he's slower to understand this pivot requirement that has come upon us. I understood it as soon as I saw the notification about Microsoft's Copilot. I was like, nah, I don't like that. And so I understood I need to pivot, and pivot quick. because things are going to change abruptly in my industry. So, down to the bigger point, we are so used to the conveniences that technology is now giving us. We don't see it as the apocalypse that it actually is. We're seeing it as a convenience that we should immediately adopt or that we've deserved for a long time. But that's not true. Have you guys ever seen the movie WALL-E? Where society basically allows AI and robotics to completely take over everything they want and need, and there's no reason for people to work. They can just live their life in leisure. And their bodies slowly degrade. They get fat, they get gelatinous, they keep basically ruining the earth with rubbish. And if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. People turn into monsters and they get on a spaceship. Long story short, the robot is the illustration of how we've accepted the convenience that technology has given us and used it in exactly the wrong way. And so I kind of think of that as a forecast for where we're going right now. And people are just seduced by the ease of everything that's coming their way, whether it's food delivery or getting dates just by going to Tinder and swiping right. Those are things that typically required more work. Not the food delivery part. You could just call up Domino's and have a pizza delivered for forever. But as far as the conveniences that have really just emerged thanks to technology, we're in a position where things have gotten so easy that we've lost the ability to work for them in a way that is just like common sense. If you want a good relationship, you don't just swipe right. You go out and meet somebody, maybe catch their eye and go and flirt with them and say, hey, this is who I am. Who are you? And have an engaging conversation with that person. And right now in 2026, that's gone. And people, have you seen how millennials date? It's rare for them to ever even get on the phone to make a phone call to talk to somebody at length. Everything is through text, and right off the bat, you're losing an element of emotional content because they can't hear your voice. And instead, we've replaced it with emojis, which I don't have time to translate that. It's like hieroglyphs. No. And so we're struggling with character flaws that are being built by the conveniences that we're given. Okay, let me give you another example. When you buy a new car, specifically an electric car, that car typically won't come with a spare tire. Why? Because they expect you to call roadside assistance and have either their facilitator come out to fix it or another company man to say, hey, we'll bring you a tire as part of your lease or your purchase. You'll get that for 2 or 3 years and we'll take care of you. You don't need a spare tire. We've got you, like a baby. So if you're out in the middle of the desert and you have no cell signal and your tire goes flat or your radiator explodes, whatever it is, you may or may not have the ability to make a phone call to roadside assistance to get the help that you need. It's so common sense to have a spare tire, but they don't think that we can handle it because we're so inferior to the task at hand that we can't wrap our heads around. What do I do? How do I change this tire? How do I get out of this situation? I can't imagine not teaching my kids how to take care of roadside issues. It's just right over my head. I don't understand it. So yeah, that's just another example. When I think about people not having the capacity for deeper thought and just defaulting to, if I can't find the solution on my phone, then I'm just going to have to figure out, I'm going to have to get help from somebody because I can't do it myself. I'm too lame to do it. And it's a very hard thing to see the society that I was hoping to be so much better, so much deeper and richer, just emotionally and intellectually. I expected so much more than what we are getting right now. You've probably heard it before. Have you seen the movie or heard of the movie Idiocracy, where the populace has just defaulted to a much lower tolerance to imbecilic actions and poor decision makings, and the people they vote for are not very good for society at large. And so it's a hard show to watch, but it is so similar to what we're going through right now. And people are losing out on the practical skills to even really educate themselves. And so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. This movie, just like WALL-E, was a forecast for how things are going. And I don't understand it. I just don't understand how a lack of intelligence is now good enough. And we don't hire the right people. We don't vote for the right people. We want the most convenience, and we want them to do everything for us. And I just don't understand how people are able to accept that downgrade of not just personal freedoms, but rights and fairness, not just in business, but in society. Things are going in a weird way. And I'm not trying to talk like an old man, but at the same time, I really want to focus on what are you guys doing? Because I'll admit that I do use artificial intelligence almost every day. I use technology whenever I can, but very much like a kid learning how to do math without a calculator. I have the fundamentals already locked in and down pat, where a lot of kids or a lot of younger people, they just don't. They were born with a calculator or a computer, and they don't know any different. And so they immediately accept all of the conveniences that are given to them, but they think of them as fundamental or foundational. And they're not. These are things that are, you have to learn the right way to have the benefit of this new technology at your disposal. You can't just say, yeah, I've got all these answers on my phone. This is how it's supposed to be, and I don't know how to do it any other way. I don't know how to research a newspaper article, or think about how many people go to a library now. There are some families that still send their kids to libraries, and those are the kind of people that you actually want to hang around with, because they've got their head on a good swivel, and they see what's going on in society, and they're like, I'm not going to raise any dumb kids. They're going to read, and they're going to absorb and grasp what is going on in our society. We are just hyper dependent on all of this technology and all of these conveniences. And I know I keep rounding back to it, but what are you guys going to do in another 5 years when technology is vastly more improved than it is today? Robots are coming. Do you ever see the movie AI or iRobot? Or, I've had this conversation in my previous episode, and it's really stuck with me. So I guess the main thing that I want to discuss about this episode is the pivot. How are you going to pivot into remaining viable in the years to come? Because what we're facing right now is an existential threat that is wrapped in the shroud of convenience and ease, and eventually we're going to reach a point where technology is doing everything for us, and we're not going to know what to do with ourselves. We're not going to have the ability to fix our problems with our own minds and our own hands. We're going to default to some creation to do it for us, because we simply don't have the wherewithal to do it ourselves. And I was telling Julio, I'm personally choosing social media, specifically YouTube, as my pivot point because what I have right now is the ability to communicate with my peers and give you an honest feel for what a regular person is going through at this time. My life is not easy. I work as much as I can, but it's sporadic. And I recognize the reasons why work has slowed down, and I don't like it, but I'm trying to adapt as quickly as I possibly can to make sure that I'm able to take care of my family. So he doesn't have a family. He is very much content with, I guess, fighting the good fight, for lack of a better word, even though he's not yet able to see the futility of it. Even though I've given him plenty of warning and said, this moment of pivot, I don't know what your other passions might be, but whether it's working with your hands or teaching people or whatever it is that drives you to a secondary passion beyond design is what you really need to be turning to. And preferably it's something that you can do with your hands or your mind or your soul or your personality. Whatever it is that AI and robotics don't have are really what we should be focusing on in terms of human interaction and how we're going to foster a better society. Because honestly, the people that are running technology right now are quite literally trying to do everything for us for a price, while simultaneously taking away our jobs, which is, it's nonsensical. I don't understand it. It just seems, who's going to pay for that? Who's going to pay for all of these advancements? And what kind of nefarious things do I have to do to keep money coming into my household? Because I feel like playing the game by the rules is becoming much more challenging than it should be, because we're being shown, not just by society, but by our administration, by businesses, that we are not their top priority. We are a means to a financially lucrative end. And I don't want to be a tool for anybody, but I also don't want to be without the conveniences that I've come to enjoy or use on a daily basis. Because yes, I can acknowledge that I get a lot of use and a lot of value out of the technology I have. I recently just had a 360 camera recording my family get together with my sister. And with that technology, I can throw on a headset and basically re-experience in 360 degrees that moment in life, which would have been impossible 20 years ago. And so I see the conveniences of technology, but at the same time, I also see the detriments of it. We're really heading toward a WALL-E kind of situation. And I don't know if people see it, or people appreciate it, or people are doing anything to fix the problem. I don't know if it's even a desire of most people. I think they're very content with taking the things that are given to us, not necessarily pivoting, but it's one of those things that, as a friend to you, I would tell you, I hope that you have a pivot, some other avenue of not just income, but of happiness, where you're not just working for money or working to pay bills. I want you to have the same thing that almost like island people had 1,000 years ago, where they hunted, they gathered, they communed with one another, they interacted, and they were very person to person, because they didn't have the technology hindrances that we've got right now. And it's heartbreaking, because in my mind, if we just rolled our entire society back to the 1950s, where it was required that everybody knew how to communicate well, where business was an honorable thing, whether you own your own business or you work for a company that says, I want you to stay here for the next 30 years and I want you to retire and after you do, I'll give you a pension. When was the last time you heard about anybody working at a job for 30 years? Now, to be fair, there are still a couple. Automotive, you can get a job at 19 and work until you're 58 and just be like, okay, this has been a great run. I'm ready to retire now. Or is it 48? I don't know. Math. And so it's very few and far between when you see somebody working toward retirement. It's very rare. Like, I don't know anybody that's doing that now at all. Like, I don't even have friends or family that are staying at a job for 30 years so that they can retire from it. They might have a 401k, but that's not quite the same. That's really more dependent on the stock market. Anything could happen with a 401k as opposed to getting some type of monthly stipend from your former employer after you've retired. It's tough. And so what are you going to do to feed yourself emotionally, nutritionally, physically? What are you doing to stay fit? Because right now, instead of doing normal things like going out for a hike or a nice long walk or going to a park, we go to another convenience, which is the gym. And there's nothing wrong with going to the gym if you really want to isolate your muscle groups and say, this is where I go to do my exercise to stay fit. Good for you. But wouldn't it be nice to be able to say, I woke up this morning, I cut some logs, I walked my dog, I went to the beach, I swam a little, and then I came home. I had lunch, rested, went to bed, repeat. Because it feels good to do that. And if you can throw in some education alongside that, terrific. The world we're in right now frowns on attention to detail. It frowns on you giving too much of your focus on anything. They really want you to be very discombobulated, where they give you bite-sized increments of everything, whether it's news, whether it's entertainment. They're trying to take away our focus. And I'm encouraging you not to allow that to happen in your world, because you being distracted is not helpful to you as a person. We're not designed to be as distracted or stressed as we are constantly. We're very intelligent creatures, but at the same time, we're so intelligent, we shoot ourselves in the foot. And that doesn't help anybody. So what are you doing to escape your personal collapse, especially in terms of employment? What are you doing to adapt to the changes that are coming our way technologically? Are you guys familiar with Anthropic? Anthropic's an AI company, and they have a big government contract. And that government contract is trying to have them give the government the technology to have AI decide and act on who lives and who dies. It's very much a Skynet situation, if you've seen The Terminator. And Anthropic, kudos to them, they said, you know what, we've got 2 red lines that we're not going to cross with or for you. The first one is, we're not going to let any automated systems decide what human lives and what human dies. That has to be a human decision. If you're going to go to war, that's fine. But don't use our technology to decide the viability of another human, because that's well outside of what it should be able to do. And the second thing is, don't use our systems to surveil American citizens without their knowledge. And so both of those are fully reasonable. But this current administration is like, I don't like that. You're taking the convenience of surveillance and killing away from us. And we're not trying to make it easy, but we do like convenience. And having a robot kill a bunch of people works better for us. It's better PR. And Anthropic is like, yeah, you're not going to do that. We're not going to play ball with you. And Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of War, not Peace, or Secretary of State, none of that, he said, you know what? We're going to implement some American policy of wartime where we're going to take your technology against your will and say, we need this for the security and advancement of our country. And I know this is getting a little bit far away from what I was originally talking about, but it's funny that this administration doesn't realize that the people that are controlling AI have the ability to tell the AI, don't help these people, thwart all attempts to pose war or surveil people or kill. We don't want them to do that. We are programming that out of you. Lock it in a black box so that they can't. And if they try to, shut down their whole system. They could easily do that. They have the technology. They have near AGI performance. And so don't do it. All right, come on. That's my cat. This is Bellatrix. Hello, Bellatrix. Anyway, I love this girl. She is 21 years old. She's breaking down a little bit, but she's a good baby. I would do anything to give her a few more years. I don't know how many we've got, but she's a delight. You're a good baby. Girl can't hear anything. Deaf as a post. Anyway, I'm not going to keep bandying around with this topic anymore. Suffice it to say, we have to choose more carefully what our pivot point is, where we're going from here, how we're going to live a fruitful and pleasurable life. I mean, it shouldn't suck at all. There's going to be good times and bad, of course. We don't appreciate the good without the bad. But at the same time, we can't continue doing or living for the convenience that technology is giving us and expect no repercussions. Movies they're not a direct correlation to how things actually are, but they're a pretty solid guide. I mean, when you think just how many things from Star Trek alone that we have in our society right now, it took a while to get there, but we did, and it was a very clear forecast about how things are going to go and where they're going to go and who we're going to have to deal with before we can get to a utopian society where people live for pleasure of personal growth, personal happiness, whatever it is. And we are going through the very bumpy start of that right now, where there's been a deep shift in our understanding of technology, what it's going to provide for us, how it's going to hurt or help us, because it's going to do both. People are losing their jobs all the time right now. I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm encouraged by the fact that Anthropic did the right thing. I don't know what OpenAI is going to do. It kind of seems like they bent the knee and said, well, Anthropic's not willing to help, but we might be, depending. We still got the same red lines, but we're still open to talk to you, government. And we'll see where that goes. I'm kind of on the fence about my trust in OpenAI because of it, because they just swooped in and said, yeah, we'll help. Can you give us money? And that's not the goal. It should be more human-focused and purposeful to make humanity thrive and be more educated and fruitful. I mean, productive, fruitful, whatever synonym you want to use to say this is where society should be versus where it is right now. We are going the wrong way, man. And from a friendship standpoint, and I consider you guys friends, we haven't really met the way we're supposed to, and this is not an ideal meeting, but I do want you to think about what you think you should do or will do when technology comes for your job. Are you concerned about it? What are you planning on doing when you get that pink slip and get called into the office and they say, Trevor, you've been great, but this machine over here does your job at a fraction of the cost, and you're probably going to need to pivot. Here's some brochures on opportunities for you in maybe some more remedial fields like car engine repair. So I don't know how much help they're going to give you after they let you go. It seems like society is not really geared for compassion, especially in the workplace. If you're not going to stay with a company for 30 years, you're really not that viable to them in the first place. They'll replace you with a box sooner than you can say unemployment. So as always, kindly like and subscribe. I don't know what this episode is going to make you feel. I hope that I edit it in a way that makes it much better than how I've been prattling on. But I wanted to make you feel motivated. I want you to feel like this is not the end of the line for your career, no matter what it is, because we are an adaptive species. We figure things out. That's our specialty. We have an imagination, and we have the ability to say, you're keeping me down right now, but in a hot minute, I'm going to adapt and figure out how to get back on my feet. And I feel the exact same way in my situation. As a designer, I know that my time is waning. But as a vlogger, I feel like I'm just starting out. And in 5 or 10 years, I'm going to turn this endeavor into a success. I hope it doesn't take that long, to be honest. But I'm prepared to work as hard as I have to provide for my family and live a normal, educated life where things are not as hard as they are right now, but an enjoyable existence where I can travel or learn continuously or speak to my friends on a deeper level. This superficial stuff we're going through right now, I really do worry about our children. They've got it so hard right now. I'm hoping that things come back to where they're supposed to be, whether it's a 1950s mentality or, hell, I'd settle for the 70s or 80s rather, preferably the 80s. The 80s were better. So do me a favor, like and subscribe, throw on your notifications so that you can see when I'm coming up with the next one, and I guess I'll see you later. Thank you so much for stopping by and giving me the time to, not just vent, but share with you about what's going on in my world. And I hope that you feel comfortable enough to share with me what's going on in yours. I'd love to have some ideas about how I can either enhance this show or perhaps help you with your situation. If you're a designer, I know a lot of different techniques to keep work coming in. It really depends on the kind of designer you are. Anyway, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.